Hey all, it's been a little while since I've done a video. Oh dear. People aren't joking when they say that preparing and running a Kickstarter campaign is insane amounts of work. In case you haven't seen my tweets, Instagram Reels, TikTok Shorts, or whatever the hell is popular at the moment, the We Are Not Alone Kickstarter is now live. There's links in the description. Now, this Kickstarter isn't for me to be making money. It's so I can fairly pay voice actors, a sound designer, and a composer to make the game just feel that much better. Again, links in the description, but let's get into the video. Alright, so let's talk about We Are Not Alone, what it is, and why it is like it is. So the main standout gameplay mechanic for We Are Not Alone is that you can walk around with your camera in first-person mode, place it down, and switch into point-and-click adventure mode. Being able to have that dual type of gameplay allows me to create scenes that can better scare the player. It really assists in developing that aspect of the game, as well as removing the safety that the camera gives you, which we'll get into in a little bit. A lot of people have said, why is the camera so large? Why do I have to put the camera down? Why not just attach a GoPro to the characters and be done with it? Valid questions. Given that the company that's running this experiment is a multi-billion-dollar organization, couldn't they just spring for something a little bit smaller and a little bit easier if they want everything recorded? As you'll know from the demo, the experiment isn't exactly what the test subjects signed up for. So maybe, just maybe, the company that runs this experiment is giving you these old cameras on purpose and has asked you to look through the viewfinder at all times for a purpose. So with the gameplay mechanics in, the whole idea of wanting to do a horror game with switching perspectives, then came the idea for the main enemy of the game, and without getting into spoilers territory, does not like to be looked at and becomes very violent when doing so. Kind of like old mythology kind of stuff with Medusa turning people into stone, stuff like that. So because it hates to be looked at, while holding the camera up and looking through the viewfinder, you've got this barrier between you and the creature, which means it won't really attack you. And while yes, Riley could just, have the camera here and be looking around at whatever's happening, she learns very early on that this is not a good idea, and without another means of escape, she's just gonna have to deal with it. But holding a camera, especially like one of those big old Canon heavy cameras, can get tiring if you're holding it right in front of your face at all times. And also, what if you need to use both hands for something? Well then you put the camera down, keep yourself in view, and you've just entered into a third-person point-and-click adventure. Now, creating this hybrid of first-person exploration and third-person point-and-click, there's some very serious concerns I had to go through when developing something like this. And as you can see in the demo and compared to the full game, a lot has changed. So let's go through these considerations now, just so you know my kind of mindset and thought process when I'm developing the game itself. In most point-and-click games, you can be searching between 5, 10, 20 different scenes in order to try find the item you need or what you need to be using that item on. But in a traditional point-and-click adventure game, you're mostly just a double click away from switching between these scenes. It's not a problem at all. But when you combine that with first-person exploration, if you were to be going between 5 to 20 different scenes in order to find an object, that just becomes slow, tedious, and annoying as all hell. So I've had to make sure from the get-go that puzzles are designed in a way that you're not going between 10 different rooms slowly trying to figure out what there is. Now I put the sprint button in there because there is a few situations in the demo where that may happen, just so you can traverse easily. But it's more about designing the game so that you're not traversing too many scenes. The objects won't be in the same room as you, but they will be nearby, and there might be just a little bit of logic you need to do in order to find it. Another big consideration, and this is going from the demo to the full game, that is where the camera placement is and how rooms are designed themselves. A lot of the complaints that came from the demo were that, I went to do this one thing, I had to put the camera down, I forgot to do this other thing, I have to pick the camera back up. Now, especially in the mess hall, this was a problem, because you'd put the camera down so you can talk to people. But then you'd have to pick it up again so that you can get the food, put the camera down again so that you can go eat the food at the table. So you can see, in the original, this was a bit of a pain, a bit annoying, not too bad. Like, people could still figure it out and it would be okay. But in the full one, now if you put the camera down, you can get the food, talk to the people. The only time you need to pick the camera back up again is when you leave the room. So a lot of these considerations are going into the full version of the game. A lot of the rooms you see in the demo have been completely revamped. because of this and because of feedback from people who have played it, maybe even yourself. So if you gave that feedback, thank you very much. I'm also toying with a few other ideas. There's a few instances in the demo where Riley says, I need to put the camera down before I can do this. And in some instances, it may be best if Riley comments on that, walks over to where the camera placement is and puts the camera down, then continues the action. It's just one thing I want to make sure that if I do that, it's not taking too much control away from the player, but that's something we'll have to try in testing. All right, so we've had a discussion about We Are Not Alone itself, but what has been happening since my last video back in June? I can't believe it's been that long. I was doing the daily sprint videos and that was good. It was motivating me really, really well. The problem is that when you're planning and then launching a Kickstarter, it just wasn't sustainable. You have to get the campaign completely fleshed out, proofread, getting the video done, going through many iterations of the video itself. There just wasn't enough time, and I'm doing this full time. I can't imagine anyone who's a solo dev working a full-time job and trying to do this on the side. If you are doing it, holy crap, I commend you. But all this combined with like having to find the time to record what I was doing during the days, creating a short, uploading it onto Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, I think I did at one point, but it wasn't really catching on. All that just leads you to kind of burn yourself out. So I had to be really careful there not to go past the point of no return where I was just completely unable to do anything for a little bit. As fun as those sprints were, and doing those sprint short videos, once the Kickstarter finalizes, I will probably go back to doing those because it was a good way to get some content out, fill people in on what is actually happening, and then just motivating myself continuously each day. As for the Kickstarter itself, I think it's tracking really well. I'm really happy with how it's going, and there's still 16 days left on the campaign, so I'm very hopeful it's going to turn out all right. If you've backed already, thank you very much. If you haven't had a chance yet, there's some really cool reward tiers, including the ones on screen that are my absolute favorites. Things where you can just add a little bit of yourself into the game, like putting a short story that you've written into the game that other people can read, or just leaving a voicemail. Just cool little things that make you a part of the game. As well as some pretty cool add-ons such as t-shirts like the one I'm wearing now, or a Stasis Booth Games t-shirt. There's also keychains that are handmade and sticker packs. Anyway, that's the rundown of what's been happening. I just wanted to talk briefly about We Are Not Alone so I can cut it together and put it into a little Kickstarter video as well. And just give an update on what's been happening with me. Because I really thank you. We passed 300 subscribers, which is fantastic. I just feel bad I haven't been putting content out. I think that about wraps everything up. We've talked about the game, we've talked about the Kickstarter, and I'm back on YouTube. So thank you very much for watching. My name is Andrew from Stasis Booth Games, and as always, stay indie.